For 7 consecutive years, the world has looked at Finland and seen a utopia. The happiest people, the strongest safety nets, the perfect society. But this is an optical illusion. If you strip away the PR, you don't find a miracle, you find a corpse. Finland isn't just stalling. It is mechanically reenacting the exact death spiral that shattered the Soviet Union and paralyzed 1990s Japan. We are watching a nation commit demographic and financial suicide in real time, yet the world is still clapping. Today, we expose why the happiest country on earth is about to become the world's first modern ghost state. If you strip away the PR, you don't find a miracle, you find a corpse. To understand how a nation commits financial suicide, you have to go back to the moment it felt immortal. Transport yourself to Helsinki, early 1980s. This wasn't the stagnant economy you see today, it was a boomtown. Finland had essentially hacked the Cold War. While the rest of the West was terrified of the Iron Curtain, Finland was getting rich off it. They became the exclusive middleman, trading paper, ships, and machinery for Soviet oil and raw cash. It was an economic cheat code. The money was flowing so fast that Finnish banks were throwing credit at anyone with a pulse, and the standard of living skyrocketed. Everyone thought they were permanently safe. However, everything changed when the Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union didn't just collapse politically, it vanished economically. Overnight, Finland's biggest customer, the entity buying massive chunks of their exports, stopped answering the phone. The result wasn't a recession, it was an amputation. Finland's GDP didn't just dip, it collapsed by 13% almost overnight. Unemployment didn't just rise, it quadrupled. This is ancient history to be ignored. This was the first warning. It proved that the Finnish model is built on a fault line. It relies on a single, massive external engine to keep moving. In the 80s, it was the Soviets. Later, it was Nokia. Now, there is no engine left. So, if the engine is dead, why does everything still look so perfect? We all know the postcard version of this story. It's the Danish mother cycling through the morning mist with her kids in a sidecar. It's the Swedish father, on generous paternity leave, enjoying a leisurely Tuesday lunch. It's the Finnish physics teacher discussing the nature of elegance with a classroom of 15-year-olds. It's the Nordic dream. It is seductive, it is beautiful, and right now, it is the villain of this story. Let's call this what it is. Magical thinking. For decades, the world convinced itself that this lifestyle was a triumph of superior policies. It wasn't. It was a luxury product purchased by a specific economic anomaly. That idyllic welfare state requires a ruthless level of funding. Specifically, economists estimate you need about 80% of your adults in the workforce just to break even. When Finland was the gateway to the Soviet Union, that math worked. When Nokia was effectively printing money, that math worked. But those were external engines. They are gone. What remains is a country trying to maintain a Ferrari lifestyle on a bicycle budget. The government is currently slashing benefits not out of ideology, but out of mathematical desperation. The Happiest Country Awards are just a lagging indicator. Look past the headlines and the sleek tech branding, and the reality is stark. We are not looking at the next Silicon Valley. We are looking at a demographic nursing home masquerading as a tech hub. We have seen this movie before. In the early 1990s, Finland didn't just stumble, it face-planted. Why? Because it treated the Soviet Union as its personal ATM. They locked their economy into one massive, reliable buyer. When the Soviet Union collapsed, it didn't just kill a market, it wiped out Finland's economic engine overnight. GDP didn't dip. It plummeted by roughly 13%. That was the warning shot. Reliance on a single fragile pillar is suicide. But today, the pillar isn't a trade partner. It's the population itself. Finland is now mirroring 1990s Japan. Drive through the rural municipalities in the east. You won't see bustling tech hubs. You see the grim reality of a dying demographic. Shuttered schools and empty main streets. We have reached the humiliating point where, in many areas, sales of adult diapers are overtaking baby diapers. So here is the question no one in Helsinki wants to answer. Why do we pretend that you can tax a shrinking workforce into prosperity? The math is physically impossible. And hold on, because it gets worse. This demographic collapse is pushing Finland into the Greek trap. For a decade, the government has been plugging these holes with credit. But unlike a business borrowing to expand, Finland is borrowing just to pay the heating bill. The debt isn't fueling the future, it's funding the past. We are watching the famous Nordic safety net turn into a debt noose. tightening with every bond auction. And yet, if you look at the headlines, you'd think this was paradise. For 8 years running, Finland has been crowned the happiest country in the world. But let's be honest about what that label really is right now. It's an anesthetic. It's a dopamine hit that masks the necrosis setting in underneath. Strip away the happiness branding, and you see the red indicators flashing across the dashboard. The first is productivity. It's dead in the water. Since the tech giant Nokia stumbled, effectively wiping out the country's primary growth engine, nothing of equal power has replaced it. The economy is projected to grow by a pathetic 0.3% this year. That's not stability. That's rigor mortis. Then you have the demographic time bomb. This is the ghost state reality. The social contract relies on a simple math equation. Enough workers paying taxes to support the retirees. That math has broken. We are watching a nation transition into a retirement home with a flag. The healthcare system is already buckling under the weight of an aging population, and there aren't enough young backs to carry the load. And speaking of the young, look at the unemployment numbers. The government PR machine sells an image of a worker's utopia. But the data shows youth unemployment spiking over 22%. That is a quarter of the next generation locked out of the economy, sustained only by state handouts funded by borrowed money. This is the false security we talked about. The optical illusion of the Nordic miracle is finally fading, revealing the rusted machinery behind the curtain. History didn't just whisper to Finland, it screamed. 3 distinct times, the global economy wrote a script for exactly how a nation commits financial suicide. And 3 times, Helsinki decided to audition for the lead role. First, we had the Soviet shock of the early 90s. The lesson was simple. When your economy relies on a single massive partner, you die when they die. Finland survived that crash, only to replicate the exact same mistake with Nokia. Second, the warning of Japanese stagnation, a zombie economy propped up by debt, while the population ages into oblivion. And third, the Greek debt crisis, the mathematical impossibility of funding a champagne welfare state on a beer budget borrowed from foreign creditors. But Finland looked at these 3 disasters, the Soviet sudden stop, the Japanese slow bleed, and the Greek debt spiral, and said, we'll take the combo platter. And yet, every year the headlines insist this is the happiest country on earth. Do not let the survey data gaslight you. Happiness is a lagging indicator. It measures how comfortable the past 30 years were. Demographics are a leading indicator. They tell you that the next 30 years are going to be a brutal fight for survival. The Nordic miracle feels good right now, because they are burning the furniture to keep the house warm. But here is the terrifying part. Finland is collapsing in slow motion. It might take a decade for the lights to fully dim in Helsinki, but there is another major economy that is waiting around. They are speed-running this exact same demographic and currency collapse right now, at a pace that threatens to break the global financial system next week, not next year. If you want to see Finland's future fast-forwarded, click this video on the Japanese yen collapse. I'll see you there. Ultimately, Finland's crisis destroys the myth that good intentions guarantee economic safety. We are witnessing a fundamental breakdown, where an aging population simply cannot support a bloating welfare state, no matter how happy the indices claim the people are. This isn't just a Nordic problem, it is a mathematical certainty that is coming for the rest of Europe. So as the cracks widen in the Eurozone's foundation, you have to ask yourself, if the most stable economy in the Union is crumbling under the weight of its own debt, what chance do the weaker nations have when the contagion spreads? We cover the signals the central banks ignore. To stay ahead of the curve and protect your portfolio from the fallout, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now.